Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Healing the Child Within. Messages from my book, Healing the Child Within, Life is All About Choices. Today we're going to be talking about vengeance. You know, sometimes when someone does something, I'll say, victimizes you or wrongs you in some way, you take it as being victimized or wrong in some way. You know, that little thought or desire for vengeance, sometimes that's not so easy to ignore. I know I was guilty of that, and perhaps sharing my journey out of that will help someone who was drawn to watch this video. So leave some comments. Let me know what you think, because I'd really like to know where you are on this scale of vengeance. So what happens when you are victimized? And I'll go with sharing my story, because anyone who follows my work knows that I was raised in a family where I received mental abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse by the age of 12. Now, when you're a child and you are wondering why you feel so powerless, why people are able to do things to you, and as your child self, remember this, your child self thinking this, get away with it. You know, it's not fair that someone can punish you, that someone can hit you, that someone can abuse you, that someone can scream at you, that someone can sexually molest you, that someone can traumatize you and get away with it. That's what my child self, me as my child, when I was a child, that's how I used to view it. That's how I used to see it. Now, remember, everything that we believe as adults started somewhere in childhood. Now, this does not mean that, you had to have some type of trauma or negative experience in your life, because we create our beliefs in childhood based on both negative and positive experiences that we have. But oftentimes it's the negative experiences that stay with us the most. It's those negative experiences that really hold on to everything that we are. And we feel like, I just don't know what to do about this. Now, sometimes we repress it and suppress it. We lock it away someplace in our mind. We don't want to think about it. We want to tell ourselves it's over, it's done, it's in the past. But you can't get away from your feelings. So when you're feeling vengeful, let's think about some of the negative emotions that are coming up for you. Maybe you feel shameful, maybe you feel guilty, maybe you feel remorseful. Whatever it is, that feeling that you have over and over and over. If you want to look at where you are on this, take a look at what's going on in your life. Take a look at your relationships with others. Take a look at your finances. Take a look at your career. Take a look at your health. Do you feel these same feelings in any of these areas of your life? If so, this is an opportunity for you to heal your inner child. Now, I always say this is an opportunity because you have a choice. We all have a choice, right? Life is all about choices. That's one of my favorite sayings. So you have a choice of whether or not you're going to do this. You can take the path of vengeance, or you can take the path of inner work. Now, when you take the path of inner work, that is where you will find peace of mind. That is where you will find a joyful heart, the love, the joy, the happiness that you are looking for. If you take the road of vengeance or being angry in some way, shape, or form, that is going to be a more difficult path. Now, remember, I'm always reminding you, there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. There just is. Whatever you choose is perfect. It's perfect, because this may be exactly what you need for your soul's karmic journey. We all come into this life with a karmic journey. We all come into this life with other souls, other spiritual beings having a human experience who made a contract with our soul before incarnating, saying, I will help you do this, whether it's negative or positive. Now, you know, there's a Buddhist saying called noble friends. And noble friends are those people in our life who bring us grief, drama, strife. So I would definitely say that my parents were my noble friends. That's what my life was like growing up. So when I got to a point where I started talking about the experiences in my life, I felt emboldened to share my story, because I could see that when I shared it, first of all, it was interesting to me that there were people who didn't believe me. So they were judging me. There were people who were angry with me for talking about it, for letting out all these secrets. There were people who encouraged me to continue to share my story. There were people who commiserated with me. Now, if you're in that feeling of vengeance mode or victim mode, or you want some type of payback for something that you believe was done to you, now, what are you going to be looking for? You're going to be looking for commiseration, right? You want to be around people, surround yourself with people who are going to fuel your, let's call it a mission, right? Your mission to get even, your mission to be angry, your mission for vengeance. And so when you surround yourself with those type of people, again, not good or bad, not right or wrong, this is what you're seeking out, because you have these feelings about what you experienced, and these feelings are washing over you, I would say, most of the time. Now, there are times when you can say, no, I need to, like lock that in a box and put it away underneath my bed. And then there are times when you're feeling strong enough that you take them out and you take a look at them and you look at the memories and how it makes you feel, and you feel yourself feeling those feelings all over again. And it goes in waves, or like a roller coaster, like up and down, up and down. And how you're feeling in any given moment, like I'm feeling strong enough to really feel through this, or I'm not feeling strong enough, which is when we break down and we cry and we look for others to talk to and talk about it. We might go into therapy. Now, for me, my path led to martial arts, because I thought, if I could learn to fight. Now, I come from the era of Bruce Lee, so I thought, man, if I could fight like Bruce, no one would ever touch me again. No one would ever harm me again. No one would ever dare take advantage of me again or victimize me again. So I'm very open about letting people know that the main reason that I went into martial arts was for vengeance, and because I lived in fear. I was in constant fear of, these events, experiences happening again. I felt like I had some kind of a sign here that said, victim here, go ahead. This is me, victim. But there was a part of me that was also very strong. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it was that inner strength saying, no, this is not going to happen again. But you go back and forth, because the reason that you go back and forth is because you remember what happened. And then you say, okay, well, I must be a victim because that happened. And then you say, but no, I'm not a victim because I'm not going to let that happen again. And you go back and forth and back and forth. And it's difficult for us to step out of any type of cycle. If you watched the show 2 weeks ago, I talked about getting out of the loop, that loop that we're in when we are continuously feeling the same feelings over and over, making the same choices over and over. And we're so frustrated about our life and we can't figure out what's going on. And why does this keep happening to me? And why is this struggle? And why do I keep attracting the same losers? That kind of thing. Well, it's because when you keep remembering the way you remember the situation, because you will remember it with feeling, and how you're feeling is where you're vibrating, and where you're vibrating is the energy that you're putting out to the universe, and the energy that you're putting out to the universe is acting in kind and sending that energy back to you. And so you are attracting experiences into your life to actually feel the feelings that you're telling the universe you want to feel. So that's a continual loop, right? And it took me so long to understand that. Now, keep in mind that when I started studying karate and I learned to fight, I felt untouchable. I felt amazing. And then I got the idea that every woman should feel this way. No woman should ever be victimized. Every woman should know what she possesses. Every woman should feel this inner strength and how powerful it feels. And that is where my business started in 1998, teaching self-defense to women, because I wanted them to know the power that they possess, the inner strength that they possess. However, as a martial artist, standing back teaching self-defense to women, I realized that they weren't always there for the same reason I was there, but yet they were getting so much out of my classes. And so when I stepped back and I thought, what is it that they're really taking away from this? And I realized it was the empowerment piece. It was how I was shifting and growing, and that empowerment that I felt was being shared with them. And that was the feeling that they were coming for, not necessarily to know how to defend themselves. They wanted to be around someone who felt that strength, who felt that belief in themselves. So this created another avenue for me, for my work, for my business, for what I do, what I teach, what I share. And it kept evolving and expanding because I was willing to step out of that loop. But as long as I was in that victim mindset, you see, that's when I would draw the experiences to me of victimization. And that's where you want vengeance. Because for me, I'm talking about me personally now, depending on the religious dogma that you are raised in, I had a very difficult time with that commandment that said, honor your father and your mother. And I would think about that long and hard. And I would think, well, I don't understand. How am I supposed to honor the people that are creating the most hurt for me, the most trauma, the most sadness in my life? It doesn't make sense to me. You see, my child self, when I was a child, right? I'm trying to figure this out. So of course, what you come up with, what I came up with was that, well, there's no win here. There's no win, because no matter what I do, they're going to keep doing what they're going to do. I'm powerless to do anything about it. And all of those feelings and emotions that go along with that. So you see how my beliefs were created about being powerless, and about being victimized, and about how I was taught to pay attention and fear a very vengeful God. I felt like, okay, this God is not paying attention to me. This God is just standing by, letting this happen to me. And it was very difficult for me, for my religious upbringing and understanding, to put any of this into perspective. So when I started martial arts and I started teaching, you know, there is a really powerful story about the black belt. I'm going to share this here because it might make some sense. They say that when a student begins learning in the martial arts, goes in as a student, you're a white belt. White meaning clean slate. You have no knowledge. You're going to wipe your mind of what you know, and you're going to learn from your teachers. And every day you go into the dojo and you put your belt on and you take your belt off and you put it on and you take it off. And so this on and off, on and off, on and off. Your belt gets soiled and it turns darker. And it gets to that point where maybe it's like a brownish color. And you see, every time you take it off and put it on and take it off and put it on, and you're going into the dojo, right? And you're learning more and you're educating yourself and you're learning more about who you are and what you're capable of and what you're made of. This is turning white to black. And then when you get to the black belt stage and you're still taking that belt on and off and on and off, it begins to fray with wear, and those little white threads inside start to show. So we go from white to black to white. And I think about this all the time because it's so true in life, right? We go into life, we come into this life as children, we know nothing. Really, we have so much knowledge, but most of us are taught that we know nothing, right? All of our beliefs come from our parents, our caregivers, or those people that have the most influence over us between the ages of birth to about 12 years of age. So this is where we are learning all of our beliefs, all of what we believe to be true, all of what we believe makes us who we are. And we are going through that, and we are experiencing these things. And with all of these experiences come all the feelings that go with the experience. But it isn't until the time when we say, wait a minute, I'm going to start asking some different questions. I'm going to change something in my life because I don't like how living this way makes me feel. Because when I want vengeance, I'm constantly in this negative, very ensconced in negative emotion, negative feelings, negative beliefs, and I attract the ugliness, that's what I'm calling it, that came with all that negativity. And it's so frustrating because you begin to question your very sanity. That's what happened to me. I'll never forget the day that I just fell down on the bedroom floor and started crying. And I said to my husband, I do not understand what's wrong with me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm having horrible nightmares. They're so violent, they would put Stephen King to shame. I can't handle this anymore. I don't know what to do. And sometimes we have to break down to break through, right? Because the only way out is through. But wanting that vengeance, wanting people to pay for what they had done to me it just seemed natural to me. It seemed like it made sense, actually. And so when you have someone in your life who has either victimized you or wronged you in some way, now mind you, this is your interpretation, right? This is your perception. And if you're listening to this and you're saying, it's not just my interpretation, it's just not my perception, it's what happened, that person did something wrong. Well, I'm going to remind you, what is the vibration or the energy, the feelings that you were feeling at the time that caused you to attract that experience into your life? Now, when I very first started to learn this, it was difficult for me because I couldn't quite separate attracting trauma, sexual abuse, physical violence with the understanding that I did nothing wrong. And when someone victimizes you, that does not make you a victim. But when you feel like a victim, that's when we want vengeance. So you see the fine point there, the turning point there. The key to this is understanding how you feel. When you stop feeling like a victim, you will stop acting like a victim, you will stop thinking like a victim, and you will start making different choices. And as you start stepping out of that victim mindset, the need for vengeance will start to slip away. Now, here's another thing though. For me, I'm talking about me, it seemed to me that I would look at people in my life who I felt were, who victimized me, where the trauma came from. And I would look at them and I would say, why do they seem to be happy? Why are they living their life the way they want to live their life? And I was very judgmental because I was angry and I was hurt. And I wanted I wanted to see them suffer. I wanted to see them suffer like I suffered. But when you start to do this work, when you say yes to the inner work, the moment you say yes to the inner work, just like that day that I fell down onto the floor in my bedroom and said, I can't take this anymore. That was the turning point for me. That's when I said yes to the inner work. Now, it doesn't mean that I went willingly. It doesn't mean that the things that I started learning were easy to let go of, because we want to hold on to that anger, don't we? We want to hold on to that fear. We want to hold on to that vengeance mindset where we said, you know what, gosh darn it, I suffered. That person needs to know what it's like to suffer like he or she made me suffer. We want to hold on to that. And we hold on to it so tightly, like, if I let this go, then who am I? What's going to happen? And that's the thing. We oftentimes don't really know who we are. We don't really see the beauty, the love, and the light that we are, because we're so steeped, so mired in that negativity, that to see ourselves in any way other than that, as I called it, that ugliness of who I am, made no sense to me. And the more teachers that I brought into my life, the more teachers that I attracted, and they started to share with me, Nancy, look, this is who you are. And it didn't make sense to me. I mean, it's like I could hear their words, but I couldn't quite accept it. So the journey for inner work is to be able to accept the love and light that you are. And it is a journey, right? Life is a journey, not a destination. We don't ever get to a point where we say, oh, I see, I'm this fabulous person. I am all that in a box of chocolates. I love my life. Everything is perfect. And then bam, that's the destination, and drop the mic. It's done, it's over. No, it doesn't happen that way, because we're always expanding. The universe is energy. Its energy is always shifting, always expanding and contracting. So there are days when, if we do have negative experiences, thoughts, feelings, and emotions that come into our life, the thing is when you do the inner work, when you heal your inner child, you are now equipped to know how to move through it in a loving way, rather than in a fearful way. Because every choice we make only comes from one of two places: fear or love. And anything we choose from the fear side, like vengeance, anger, fear, grief, shame, remorse, low levels of self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, self-image, anything that comes from that is not real. Now you might say to yourself, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, it feels real. Yes, it feels real because there's somewhere, something you've experienced, some memory that you have that created this belief for you, and this belief has feelings and emotions for you that you are still holding on to. So if there was some type of trauma, it's very important for us to be trauma aware, to be trauma informed, and understand, oh, this is what trauma looks like for me. Now, do I want to stay there? Do I want to believe that my entire life, my entire being is meant to continue suffering this trauma or feeling what it felt like to be in that trauma? Or are we ready to let go? Because letting go does not mean giving up. ever. Letting go simply is you expanding into the love and light that you are. But as long as you're holding on to vengeance, as long as you're holding on to that victim mindset where you want others to suffer like you have suffered, then you are holding on to that negative energy, that negative feeling. And that is what you're putting out into the universe. And that, my friend, is what you are going to draw back to you. That is universal law. What you put out to the universe sends back to you in kind. There is no one day you can do it, one day you can't do it, one day you're going to follow it, one day you're going to say, I'm not going to do this today. Universal law, gravity is universal law. You don't get up one day and say, I'm not going to do gravity today. It doesn't work that way. Just like you can't get up one day and say, I'm not going to do the law of attraction. I'm not going to follow the law of attraction today. If you want to learn more about this, if there is something going on in your life where you're holding on to this vengeance mindset, I encourage you to visit my website at masteringyourbeliefs.com. Look around, get your free download, take the audio course or the audio course, the e-course there. Look at the books that I suggest. Whatever calls to you, whatever you feel is your expansion point, the place where you want to say, I don't want to be in this vengeance mindset any longer. For me, it was dropping to my knees, dropping to the floor in my bedroom. Whatever your dropping point is, remember, when you hit rock bottom, the only place left to go is up. And there is no up or down really, but you know, we see that as, oh, feeling better about life, about who we are, about what's going to happen. And we have that capability. We have that inner strength. We have that power. We possess it all. And we possess it because that's what we were born with. We came into this life knowing who we are. We came into this life knowing how fabulous we are. We also came into this life with karmic contracts. And if your karmic contract is to feel these negative feelings, thoughts, emotions, now you also have the power to heal from that, to step out of that. Because I can tell you this, if I had not been driven to the point of wanting vengeance, of going into the martial arts, and then teaching martial arts, and then evolving and expanding within the martial arts, I would not be doing the work that I'm doing today. Everything starts from a starting point. Everything starts from somewhere. So wherever you are, this can be your starting point. Whether you're falling to your knees on the bedroom floor or you're just saying, you know what, I can't handle this anymore. I can't take it anymore. That's a starting point. Love yourself, be kind to yourself. But most of all, pay attention, because if you are still wanting vengeance, then this is you staying in the negativity of feeling powerless. Because as long as you are holding anger or a grudge or wanting vengeance towards another person, you are giving that person your power, your personal power. You're saying to yourself, I don't believe that I have what it takes to be the love and light that I am. So I'm going to give you my power and remain in this darkness. And when we do that, we continue to feel powerless. We continue to feel those negative feelings that create that negativity and the struggles and the challenges that we're going through on a day-to-day basis. I encourage you to master your beliefs and really understand why vengeance seems to be the only answer for you. Give yourself the choice to say, Is vengeance really the answer, or could there be another way? In the meantime, this is Nancy Muller, the one and only Life Sensei, saying ciao for now.